Hello, welcome to our masterclass on nutrition, photosynthesis, and food substances. And I mean this, it is absolutely essential for your exams. If you are preparing for WAEC, NECO, or JAMB, you're in exactly the right place to lock down those top marks. So let's get right into it. So you might be asking, why are we focusing on this topic? Well, it's simple. It's a guaranteed high score. Look, this topic shows up every single year. No kidding. The examiners love asking theory questions about photosynthesis, and you can bet you're going to see practical questions on food tests. Mastering this is your direct line to scoring some serious marks. Okay, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll quickly touch on why this topic is so important. Then, we're going to build a really solid foundation in nutrition and photosynthesis. After that, we'll get hands-on with food substances and tests. And then, the fun part. We'll apply all that knowledge by tackling real past questions. I'll wrap everything up with a quick summary and my top tips to help you smash that exam. Let's start with section 1. Why this topic matters. I just want to make one thing super clear. Everything we cover today is pulled straight from your official syllabus. No fluff, no guesswork, just the pure examinable content that you need to know. All right, let's jump into section 2, nutrition and photosynthesis basics. This is where we lay the groundwork for everything else. We're going to start with the most important definition of them all. So, what is nutrition really? Well, you can think of it as the fundamental process where living things get and use food for everything they need to do. To get energy, to grow, to repair themselves, and just to stay alive. This definition right here, that's your starting point. Now, organisms get their food in two main ways. On one side, we have the autotrophs. You can think of them as the self-feeders. These are the organisms like green plants that actually make their own food. On the other side, we've got the heterotrophs. These are the organisms like us that have to get their food from others. This group is pretty diverse. You've got your holozoic feeders like humans, saprophytes like mushrooms, and even parasites like tapeworms. And that brings us to the absolute star of the show for autotrophs, photosynthesis. It's this incredible process that green plants use to make their own food, which is a sugar called glucose. So, what are the ingredients? Well, they take in carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. And the energy source that powers this whole factory? Sunlight. But what's the magic ingredient inside the plant that actually captures that sunlight? That would be the green pigment chlorophyll. Now, listen up because this is important. This is the golden equation of biology. You absolutely must memorize it exactly as you see it here, balanced and all. It shows us that 6 molecules of carbon dioxide react with 6 molecules of water, and with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll, they produce 1 molecule of glucose and 6 molecules of oxygen. You have to know your reactants on the left and your products on the right. This is non-negotiable for your exams, trust me. Photosynthesis isn't just one single thing happening, it's a two-part process. First up is the light-dependent stage, which happens in a part of the chloroplast called the grana. Think of this as the energy-capturing phase. Light gets trapped and water gets split apart. That process has a special name, photolysis. This creates these high-energy molecules, ATP and NADPH2. They're kind of like the cell's rechargeable batteries. Then comes the dark stage or the dark reaction, which happens in the stroma. Here, those charged up batteries are used to power the conversion of carbon dioxide to our final product, glucose. Okay, let's move into section 3 and see how all this theory connects to the real world. We're shifting gears from theory to practical proof with food substances and tests. This is where your practical exam skills really get to shine. So, here's a great question to think about. We know plants make glucose, but how can we actually prove that photosynthesis happened in a leaf? The answer, interestingly, lies in testing not for the glucose itself, but for what the plant stores it as. This here is the classic experiment to prove it, the iodine test for starch. Let's walk through it. First, you destarch the plant. That just means you keep it in a dark cupboard for a couple of days to make sure it uses up any stored starch. Then, you cover a small part of one leaf with black paper, which blocks out the sunlight. Next, you put the plant back in the sun for a few hours. Finally, you test that whole leaf with iodine solution. And the results? The part that was exposed to the sun turns this deep blue-black color, which is a positive test for starch. It proves that starch was made right there, but only where light could reach. Now, this table is basically your cheat sheet for practicals. You need to commit this to memory. For starch, from things like cassava or rice, you use iodine solution, and you're looking for that classic blue-black color. For proteins found in beans or egg, the burette test is your best friend. A positive result gives you a beautiful violet color. And for fats and oils, like from groundnut, the simplest one is the grease spot test. It leaves a translucent mark on paper. Or you can use Sudan the third reagent, which will turn red in the presence of oil. And now for my favorite part, Section 4, Solving Real Past Questions. This is where the rubber meets the road, where we apply everything we've just learnt. Let's practice like the champions you are. Okay, take a look at this typical WAEC question. It's in two parts. Part A asks you to state 4 modes of nutrition. Part B asks you to outline the light and dark reactions. Pay close attention to those command words. They are clues that tell you exactly how much detail the examiner wants. So, how do we tackle this for full marks? Simple. For Part A, the command word is state, so you just list them. Autotrophic, saprophytic, parasitic, and carnivorous. That's it. For Part B, outline means you give the main steps in brief. For the light reaction, you'd say chlorophyll absorbs light and photolysis of water occurs, releasing oxygen. For the dark reaction, CO2 is fixed using energy from the light stage to form glucose. See how we answered exactly what was asked? That's the secret sauce. Let's try a JAMB objective question. They've given you our golden equation and they're asking what process it represents. Honestly, if you've done your memorization, this question is a gift. It's a free mark. Let's just break it down to be sure. The raw materials are carbon dioxide and water. The products are glucose and oxygen. This is the textbook definition of photosynthesis, plain and simple. So the answer is obviously C, photosynthesis. A very common mistake here is to confuse it with the equation for respiration, which is pretty much this one, but in reverse. And here's a NECO question that perfectly links the theory to the practical side of things. It's asking which plant product is used to confirm that photosynthesis happened. This is testing if you understood the experiment we just talked about. Okay, so here's the crucial point that trips people up. While glucose is the first product, plants are smart. They quickly convert it to insoluble starch for easy storage. Our chemical test, the iodine test, detects starch, not glucose. Therefore, finding starch in the leaf is our practical confirmation that photosynthesis has taken place. The correct answer has to be D, starch. Wow, we have covered a lot. Let's wrap everything up now with Section 5, a super quick summary and some final powerful exam tips. Think of this as your final checklist for securing that A1. All right, let's recap the absolute must-knows from today. Number 1, the difference between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. Number 2, that balanced chemical equation for photosynthesis. Please know it by heart. Number 3, the 2 stages, the light stage with photolysis and the dark stage where glucose is formed. And number 4, your key food tests, especially iodine for starch and biurate for protein. If you can master these 4 points, you are in a fantastic position. And finally, here are my top exam tips. First, always obey the command words. State just needs a list. Describe or explain needs a full explanation. Second, when you draw, label your diagrams neatly with clean, straight lines. Presentation really matters. Third, please spell your biological terms correctly. Words like chlorophyll and photolysis. You don't want to lose easy marks because of spelling. And last, avoid vague answers. Be specific. If you are talking about a food test, mention the reagent you used and the final color you saw. If you found this biology lesson helpful, please like this video, share it with your classmates and friends who are also preparing for WAEC, NECO, and JAMB, and subscribe to our YouTube channel right now so you don't miss the next topic. Also, visit www.examkp.com for thousands of free practice questions and answers. Let's smash these exams together.